Okay, hi everyone. It's Salam, Fatayer, audio producer for Radio Milwaukee.
And I'm Maddy Riordan. I'm the Community Engagement Manager for Radio Milwaukee.
And I am Shavonda Sisson with Love on Black Women.
Nice for us to talk to you, Shavonda. This was something super exciting when we were thinking about and brainstorming which organizations to highlight. This was on our top of our list, so we're super happy to speak with you today. Do you mind just going a little bit and introducing yourself, just talking a little bit about yourself?
Yes. So, again, my name is Shavonda Sisson, and I am I never know what to call myself, right? I don't own a fund. I manage a fund called Love on Black Women. And my 9 to 5 is I am the Director of Ally and Alumni Engagement for Public Allies Milwaukee.
Awesome.
So Love on Black Women is kind of came out of watching another friend of mine who is an organizer out of New York named Creighton Lee. And so I would watch her posts of Black women were in need of anything from help with rent, help with groceries, help with transportation, car repairs, energy bills, and folks will be very responsive. So then I decided to start doing similar postings, I know I've been in contact with somebody who needs assistance with groceries, and people would be so responsive. And from that, I learned that people want to support other folks in their community. They just don't always know how. And so I did that for about a year or so. And then working with another friend of mine, Kyle Pfister, we kind of formalized what the process would look like, built out a website, worked with some folks at Lit also to get a donor platform put together. And here we are a year later.
Awesome. That's so exciting. I love how you say that, it's a place for people that don't know how to support one another. They can just go there, because that's something I kind of struggle with, is that you want to help, but you want to allocate your resources or your donations, but you just don't know where it goes.
Mm-hmm.
So just to be clear though, it started last year. Can you just speak a little bit about the process of from there to now? Because I only learned about it around the Black Lives Matter movement recently with these protests.
Yeah. So it started with just posting folks' cash apps. And then I wanted to think about something that was a little bit more sustainable. And so we worked on a donor platform where people are able to make one-time donations, or people can make monthly donations. So some people have their credit cards billed once a month, and they make a contribution that way, something you can just set and kind of forget about. And then I also still have people who like to submit funds via Venmo or Cash App or PayPal, which actually is very helpful for the fund, because it allows me to have immediate response to people when they reach out to me for things. All of the grants that we give, for lack of a better term, or mutual aid, I should say, that we give, is simply given out via Cash App or Venmo. And that just allows me to be super responsive, almost immediately responsive, allowing that the fund has the cash readily available.
Yeah, and I know that you guys distribute the money, but if you could just go in depth of how does that process work? Do you do the women come to you? Do you scout for the woman? What are the lines with how much this individual gets or how much this other individual gets?
Lots of different ways. So sometimes somebody will text me. Someone texted me last night, I have this queer Black woman who has this need. Can you reach out to her? So I sent her a text message. We were able to get connected. A neighbor of mine reached out to me. I met this Black woman at Metro Market. She said she's been saying she needs a safe place to stay tonight. We were able to connect and get her in a hotel room for the night. And then also on the website, folks can come and fill out a form. I don't ask for much. I ask for name. If you live in Milwaukee, I ask for social media links, because that's how I confirm identity. Because we don't really do anything face to face. People will indicate how much they need, and they have the option to tell a story, an option to tell exactly what they need. And then I take it from there. Now, how do I decide? Oh, and sometimes also, I'll scroll Facebook, and if I see people say they have a need, I'll just respond, without them having to apply for anything. And the way I decide who gets what, it just depends on what's available. Ideally, I want to be able to 100% fund ads. I'm not always able to. I do prioritize if there's intimate partner violence, and if someone is looking to get to a safe place, that becomes a priority. If there's children involved, it kind of gets to a higher priority as far as how much I'm able to fund. Or if it's something that is not super immediate and I know I can come back to, I'll kind of give part of a ask It just kind of comes down to almost sometimes like my gut as far as like what is the most immediate. If it is someone who's saying I need help with groceries, I will send a couple hundred, make a note to come back around in the next couple of weeks and I have more money in the fund to send more. And I always try to make sure everybody gets something. So if I get 10 asks, I only have $1,000 in the fund. Everyone will get $100, right? As it makes sense to disperse funds that way. I can't always meet 100% of the asks, but I try to make sure that everyone has that immediate thing met. And surprisingly, even when I'm not able to meet 100%, people are always so like grateful. And I'm always amazed. Another thing that always amazes me is most of my like faithful monthly donors are people that have received funding before. So even if it's $5 or $10 a month, they are faithful in sending that. I have somebody who sends me a couple of dollars every month or so via Cash App, and like she never forgets to send it. And so that always amazes me because you think about it as these are the folks that are probably most marginalized, right? We have Black women, Black men, Black trans women that are probably of, they're lower social economical background, but they still want to be in community. And so they want to contribute back. They want to continue to keep this thing going. They want to sow into something. And I'm always, when I see those make me more excited than my larger donations because I know that they are giving from such a loving place. And that excites me and that motivates me and that keeps me going.
Yeah, 100%. I see that all the time sometimes that, individuals that might not have a lot, they give what they can. And I do agree that it is, in a sense, a community-based aspect to this organization. Did you think that was what was going to happen when you first started Love on Black Women, it to be ripple effective every week, every month?
No idea. Yeah. No idea. Because I try to, it's getting harder now for people not to know who I am, right? For a while, no one kind of knew who I was or what I did. But recently, because I was in the media around something else, a woman who was escaping intimate partner violence like reached out to me like, oh, I never knew who you were. And she reached out. That always surprises me because also, even when I know who someone is, I never talk to them about it because I want people to be able to maintain their dignity, right? And you should not have to have conversation around a time where you had a need unless it's something that you initiate. But people always want to talk to me. They always want to talk to other people about it. And that is surprising. And I know what that takes, but the generosity of spirit with the women and like how honestly like grateful they are, that does continue to surprise and overwhelm me.
Yeah, and I completely agree that, a lot of us and a lot of women in general do have that struggle of that pridefulness that we don't want to ask for help. We don't want to ask that we're being, I don't know why I'm going with like disobedience or is the word, but you know what I mean? Just like against the norm of showing weakness in a sense. But this is such a huge responsibility for you to have such a community. And I am very grateful that I have this conversation. One thing I truly believe is that Black women are on the front lines of every movement, but hardly ever receive praises or any recognition. So from your perspective, what are some of the struggles that Black women face that are typically never addressed?
Yeah. One big thing in that has been a big conversation within my peer groups is the way that Black women are erased or the way that we are like innovators or the way this work happens. And then somebody else comes along and they're able to like do it bigger just because people either don't trust or don't believe or don't have faith in Black women or just don't see us. I've been doing this for a while. My friend Creighton, who I talked about, has been doing this for years. And then it gets branded mutual aid, which we never called it anything other than feeding kids, right? Or like making sure folks have the things that they need. But it gets branded mutual aid. And you have these mutual aid funds that are raising millions of dollars. And I'm like, if I could just get a quarter of what you're able to raise, like how impactful that would be. But people are capitalizing, and I don't want to say capitalizing, right? Because if you're running a mutual aid fund, I don't believe that, you know, capitalizing, but like people are, I'm gonna say capitalizing. People are
Go
capitalizing
for
on the
it.
work of Black women, right? And they're able to be like wildly successful, and we get erased from the conversation. Or now we're competing with them for resources because they have a bigger name, they're able to brand themselves better. They have a marketing department behind them, and so it makes our work that much harder. But I would say also what makes it difficult is we carry so much. I had to be real with myself very recently about how hard it is to open my email or open my inbox and read stories of women that have been abused. Sometimes they attach photos, and you know, to see someone's battered face, right? Or to hear about how a job has not, how they've been laid off, and like what struggles they've encountered, you know, during COVID. It becomes heavy, right? I carry a lot for a lot of people, and there's no one I can talk to it about because, you know, I want to make sure confidentiality is maintained at all times. Milwaukee is pretty small, so I want to make sure I'm maintaining confidentiality. So I really didn't have an outlet. So I very recently found myself a therapist because I need to have somewhere to put all of these things that I'm carrying. But I'm not unique in that. As a Black woman, we're carrying so much. Like you said, we're on the forefront of so many things, so many movements, so many things we're on the forefront. And we're often caught left holding the emotional and the mental bag, sometimes the spiritual bag as well. And what that means is like all the dust is settled and we're the ones standing there holding the weight, right? With none of the glory, none of the recognition. Our name isn't in the media. Our face isn't on the murals that are up, you know, in the city. We're just left holding what's left.
Yeah. And you know, one thing about the conversation about mental illness, it is never ever revealed around people of color, at least that I've noticed. You know, I was actually just watching a video before this about like a trope of a crazy girl in like TV and television, and it was always forefronted around white women. And I think it's really important that you brought up the aspect of therapy and mental health and, you know, healing, because that is some trauma that needs to be healed. And I do you think that moving forward that there will be aspects of mental health resources with Love on Black Women beyond that? Is that a priority to, you know, beyond just the financial aspect?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually had someone reach out to me very recently. Her brother was involved in a very high profile police killing here in Milwaukee. And she shared that she suffers from PTSD. And just like with everything that's going on right now, she feels like she's right back in it. So she wanted help with mental health resources. I was able to refer her to a therapist that I know who's doing like a sliding fee scale. I was able to make sure she had the funding for that. But from there, I'm actually going to be putting a project together where I'm going to be, I've already started raising money very specifically to be used for mental health services. I will be working with LIT to have a public ally to be able to assist me with some of this, to build some relationships with Black women therapists within the city. And so that we have that relationship, so when people come and they say, hey, because sometimes people will come and it won't be, I'm seeking mental health services. It will be, I'm in an abusive relationship, right? Or I've just been stressed. I've just been stressed, right? Or and not recognizing that they may be depressed or dealing with anxiety. So to be able to offer that resource to, I would hope to be where I can offer it to every woman that comes to me, even if it's just helping to make that referral to a therapist. If they have insurance and say able to cover it, that would be perfect. So that is the big project that I'm working on and hoping to be able to dedicate some time to this summer.
Do you think that there is still that big stigma against seeking help, even whether it is donations or mental health resources or even like a conversation?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, I have to really examine like the privilege I have and like the spaces that my work puts me in, the spaces that my social circle puts me in. So it's really hard for me to speak definitively to the stigma that exists, because I know within my circles and within my work, it's celebrated and it's encouraged. I can say I have seen more black women especially like really think about self-care, and self-care including our mental health, our emotional health, our physical health. And so I know that the conversation is broader. I do believe there is some stigma attached, which is why I like to talk about this openly as I do, because I think everybody who, especially anyone who's in the helping profession, needs to have a therapist. You're helping everyone else. You're carrying all these things, and you have nowhere to put it. So I know the conversation is gaining more traction. I believe there is still a little bit of stigma out there. I can't speak to how broadly it is because, again, I'm very privileged by the circles that I get to be in professionally and personally.
No, yeah, I get that. I'm Muslim and I'm Middle Eastern, and in our community, it's always like pray about it. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to therapy and going to that. It seems like, in a sense, it's like it's a luxury to go to a therapist because you have you have the resources, you have the time. So yeah, and being like a first generation immigrant, like having to dissect that with my parents and people that are older, it's a very hard thing to do. And hopefully with the newer generation, it will be more open to talk about that. But how can we support and uplift the Black women in our community and our lives from your perspective?
I would say first, donate to organizations or funds such as Love on Black Women. Black women know what we need, and so to be able to self-direct like our own resources is very important. I say look for ways where you can uplift Black women. So if you have a colleague and you're working on a project, allow them to take lead on that. I make sure that you're citing Black women. If you heard something from a Black woman, if you read something from a Black woman, make sure you're citing her. Pay Black women for their labor, for their emotional labor, their mental labor, their intellectual labor. A lot of times things are taken from us and just rebranded. And I would say get out of Black women's way. I don't think that gets talked about enough, right? Like folks who are in leadership positions or in positions where they have access to something. Sometimes in order to stand in support of a Black woman, you have to get out of the way and allow her to take that spot. And that is when we talk about like allyship or being accomplices or being co-conspirators, that does not get talked about enough. What does it look like to move out of the way and allow a Black woman to be in that space? And if we don't see that more, we're not going to make any strides towards like equality, because there's going to continue to be folks that are hire people that they feel they have more in common with, whether it's conscious or unconscious, right? It happens. Funders are funding folks they feel they have more in common with it, and so speaking up, getting out of the way, asking questions, challenging folks, like asking like why did my organization receive XYZ funding when this Black female-led organization on the other side of town that is doing more with less did not receive equal funding or more funding. So those are just a few things. I'm sure there's more, but those are the ones that are in the forefront of my mind.
Yeah, I think, I really do agree with you about, getting out of the way, because sometimes I even struggle with that. Like, you want to speak up, you want to do your part, but then you have to navigate, like, when it's appropriate to do that and when it's to give, the floor. Not give, I guess. I don't want to say that, but, not take it away from someone. I know we spoke a little bit about this, but what do you visualize Love on Black Women becoming in the future?
Because it is so much of my baby and I am pretty much the only one that does any work with it, what I envision is for me to actually be able to step away from it. I need to bring more people into the work, bring more Black women into this work to help them understand it and then to take leadership so that I can step away. Right now, I'm the only one, right? So if I were to not be able to fulfill the duties, like the fund no longer exists. So I would like to see it also be something where the person who runs the fund is able to sustain themselves, like so be like a family sustaining job, because it's work. It's a whole other part-time job for me. And it's totally unpaid labor. Like I don't get paid for this in any way. Like 100% of the money that I raise goes right back out, outside of just like maintaining the website. That's the only other thing that's paid through the fund. And so I would love to see it get to the point where we have enough monthly donors where it can sustain someone in a position, but then also still be able to meet the asks that we receive.
Yeah, and it's so inspiring to talk to you that this is all self-made and, there's only one person behind this. If anyone wants to get involved to maybe take a leadership position when that is opened, or maybe if anyone needs resources, how do they contact you?
You can just go right to loveonblackwomen.com.
Awesome.
Or email me, loveonblackwomen@gmail.com.
Maddy, do you have anything that you would like to add?
No, I love these conversations. I just like to sit and listen. Thank you, Shavonda, so much for your time today.
Is there anything, Shavonda, that you wanted to add that we didn't really touch base on?
Yeah, something I need to clarify. I get asked this a lot. When I talk about Love on Black Women, the only reason why it's called Love on Black Women because I don't know how to get the website that says Love on Black Women, Sims, non-binary, trans. Like, I don't know how to, like, that gets too long. Like, nobody will remember that. But the fund pretty much supports all marginalized gender identities.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty much the only person that would not receive funds, if you're a Black person, if you are a cis man, that would be the only thing that would exclude you. But again, that's a wonky title, right? Love on Black women, right? That's too long. But just sure that everyone who's listening understands that.
Okay, thank you so much for bringing that up because that is really important to distinguish. Okay.
Cool. Well, thank you again so much for your time. We have a couple
She always
just don't talk.
I think at this point, like, it's just expected when people watch us.
Did I come back?
Yes,
you're back now.
Okay. Jeez. Well, that's the internet for you, I guess. Thank you so much for your time, and we will get this up on the website, and it'll be an on-air piece as well, and we'll let you know when it's live.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.